guys made a billion different versions of it in every language, disco version, funk version, reggae, like they made all these different versions. They're like, we're just gonna throw literally everything at the wall and something's gonna stick. Because it's really catchy. It's like an earworm.
So it's the Who Let the Dogs Out of now.
Basically, yeah. Of toddlers.
All right. We should start. Are we started? Oh, what are we, 133? Doesn't matter. All right.
Rolling.
Okay, here we go.
Give the number, and then I'm gonna.
No, I did. It's going. It's been
All
going.
right. So I would like to start the show. I know a lot of you people get the news from our show, and if you don't, you should, because we're pretty careful in what we say. And last week, in the heat of passion, Rick said that in the phone call to the Ukrainian president, Trump had specifically said that that the Ukrainians should investigate the Bidens. And I said, no, he didn't use their names. And it turns out, yes, he did. So I humbly offer my apology. However, I'm still glad he said that, because I read the paragraph in the actual transcript of the phone call, and Trump says that, I heard that Hunter Biden is making millions, and that his father was bragging about firing a prosecutor investigating Hunter's company. And that's fine. That doesn't bother me at all. I hope he did say that. So, a retraction, but not an apology.
Fine. We're trying to do a shorter show because we've been going like 2.5 hours. And so I'm not going to start arguing about that. I guess I can do a little bit of whataboutism, though. Like the Republican Party bought $100,000 worth of Don Jr.'s new book, Triggered, so it would hit the bestseller list. But again, we don't have to argue about it. So everybody's got kids.
All right. My question I also have something else significant to say. And this is really the most significant thing, and that is that last week I had our most vociferous argument was about the
IG report.
IG report is indicating that,
Which comes out a week from today.
that the FBI changed a document in order to justify spying on Trump. And when Rick looked up, I don't know if he read the New York Times or the LA Times.
I brought in the LA Times.
Well, it said it was a minor lawyer, and that he had been fired. And the linchpin of Rick's argument was that even if this did happen, it was just some minor guy, some kook, and I won't put words in your mouth, but it was
I don't know if it's a guy trying to cover his ass.
It was just some guy, and that he was fired. That the implication of the Times article was that the Obama FBI was so straight arrow and ethical that when they found out about this breach of integrity, they fired the bastard, and because they would not brook such bad behavior. And that was what Rick had garnered from the Times article.
That's what was implied.
That was what was implied.
Or maybe even stated.
Or stated. Thank you. Now, it turns out that the lawyer was a very important lawyer. He was one of their top people.
What was
He
his
had-
title?
I don't know his title. He had worked on he'd worked on the Clinton investigation, he'd worked on the Trump investigation, he'd worked on all the most important things that the FBI was doing in Washington. So he was not a low-level guy. He was one of their top people in Washington. And the second thing, it turns out, and this is even more damning, he wasn't fired. The FBI under Obama had not fired him. They were fine with what he did. What happened was the Trump Attorney General Barr found out about it 2 months ago, 2 years into the Trump presidency, and forced him to resign. So it turns out that not only had this happened, not only had the FBI been spying on the opposing candidate and was willing to break the law because now this attorney is being indicted, but Rick, innocent, brainwashed Democrat that he is, had completely bought it. But that's not the terrible thing. Equally terrible is that the LA Times had brainwashed him. And I've been trying to mention this every single week, and I'm not getting anywhere. But people watching this, look at what happened. The LA Times managed to have an argument ready that was immediately bought by a Democrat. That was a complete falsehood.
Well, okay.
And now you're going to say, I'm not brainwashed. You're the one that's brainwashed.
We should talk about brainwashing in general, but before we get to there, the IG report today is December 2nd. The report itself comes out on the 9th, and we can't talk about anything definitively until the report's out.
That's just another brainwash.
But let's talk about brainwashing.
Because
brainwashing.
No, but what is your reaction to what I just said?
Well,
if you're not brainwashed, you should be very embarrassed. See, one time a Fox announcer said something wrong that I brought up in our show, and the very next week I said something about it. I said, I said that I argued with Rick about it, and it turned out that Fox person was Judge Janine had got it wrong, and I now doubt her credibility. I take her very at arm's length. But you're still going to read the LA Times like it's the Bible.
I don't read anything like it's the Bible, even the Bible.
Well, but you were arguing with me. If we'd have had knives, you'd have slit my throat. You were so serious about that.
Surely.
So what I'm saying is, do you now doubt the New York, the Times? Do you now see how they've lied to you? Because they knew everything that I just said. They knew he wasn't a minor person, and they knew he hadn't been fired by the Obama administration. He hung on and was a top guy there until Barr found out about him. So they completely brainwashed you, and you're fine with it. You're not embarrassed. You'll still read them, right, Rick?
I want to see more stuff.
But that's just another cop-out. Yeah, all right. For people watching this, in the 1960s, when somebody was evasive and not facing reality, we called it copping out.
All right, so let's go back to the 50s with brainwashing. The brainwashing, I think, is something that is an idea that came to the fore in the 50s that was exploited by the original novel, The Manchurian Candidate, which was made into a movie in the early 60s with Sinatra, and then remade with Denzel Washington about 10 years ago. And the idea is that evildoers can somehow kidnap you and subject you to very clever and insidious forms of torture that leave you believing things that aren't true in a way that you can't not believe, turning you into a human zombie or robot, basically. And this was a plot staple for a long time. I mean, even now, people throw around accusations of being brainwashed all the time. Whether that's an actual thing or not is highly debatable. Probably a more accurate term is propagandized. But I mean, we're going to break every half hour. So, like, at the break, you can show me your source about this lawyer guy, and if you're saying Barr fired him 2 months ago, that seems indisputable. Like it's a thing that happened at a certain point in time, and sources should have that. In terms of how big a lawyer he was, that's probably subject to some debate, but we could look it up and see what the deal is. So anyway, we'll look it up. What are we going to go on?
Turn the camera off.
No, we're going to. Our director wants to break
no,
every.
but wait a minute. If we don't, there's continuity. Remember, the audience wants to see us resolve an issue and not go on to something else. They're watching. There are people watching this.
All right, shut it down. Our lawyers hate. I mean, our lawyer, our director is.
Really?
Okay. So I read some stuff, and it's possible that this Kevin Kleinsmith guy is a bigger deal as a lawyer for the FBI than that one little LA Times article indicated. We'll know more about him in a week or so when the IG report comes out, and he'll be endlessly discussed. He, according to what you showed me and another thing I read, he resigned 2 months ago, and he was taken off the Trump-Russia investigation in February 2018 because he'd sent some anti-Trump emails. And he's kind of a goofball. He's a little nerdy. He went to something called Dragon Con at some point. But anyway, we'll find out more about it. And how important he was to getting the FISA warrants. Though the article you gave me said that the document he fucked with was in an application to renew the warrant. So I don't know if he fucked with anything in the original FISA warrant.
That you can't die on that hill, Rick, because it doesn't matter. Each FISA warrant is equally important, including the renewals just mean that you're double sure of what you said in the first place. That's actually part of the reason that people like Comey may end up being indicted, because even if you had a suspicion on the first FISA warrant, you're supposed to renew them every 3 or 4 months, and if you've had 3 or 4 months to investigate and you're still sure, and then each successive FISA warrant where you apply for it is actually more damning. So my question to you is, Rick, the LA Times deliberately deceived you. How do you feel about that? Does it make you wonder which of us is brainwashed? Because it demonstrably deceived you. You can't get out of that. It said the opposite. It gave you the impression of the opposite of what happened, deliberately in order to make the Obama administration look good.
All it said was that he was fired.
Yeah, but it said that it made it seem to you that he was fired during the Obama administration because they would never falsify a document.
No,
and it
that's
turns
not,
out,
no, that's...
But that you just said 15 minutes ago. That's what you said.
No, you're linking it to what I thought that was weird. What you said in that he was. Well, this says he resigned, and I assume that means forced to resign or thought it was best to resign when the shit came to light. I never thought that he resigned 3 years ago. And the article wouldn't have given me that sense.
When did you think he did resign, and why?
I assume.
Who do you think fired him?
Well, I didn't think that. I just read this fucking article. I thought.
You thought the Trump administration fired him?
I thought that when the IG investigation brought to light this altered document,
Yeah.
at that point he was fired. But
Okay, so you believe he was fired during the Trump administration
Yeah.
by the Trump people?
Well, I didn't think that far. I don't know who
Well,
was in charge of firing.
but then that ruins your argument, because you were deliberately trying to minimize his importance and saying, well, so he was fired, big deal. Well, yeah, of course he was fired, but he was fired for wrongdoing that was abetted and encouraged by the Obama FBI.
It's not abetted and encouraged if nobody knows he fucked with this document until it comes to light 3 years later.
Well, he was representing the FBI, Rick. Just because he
Yeah, but
didn't-
a guy, you're saying that if a guy fucks with something and doesn't get caught, then he's abetting himself. If nobody knows he fucked with a document, changed a date on a document until the IG investigation 3 years after that document was part of this big stack of documents, then the FBI is not aiding and abetting him because they didn't know.
How do you know they didn't know, Rick?
Well, because I'm assuming, now of course you don't want to assume anything, but that there's some date that's been fucked with on one document, and I don't know what kind of, we don't know anything about it.
Well, we do know. But Rick, there's something called the RICO laws in the United States. If one mafioso kills somebody, you don't say, well, we're sure that the boss, the Godfather, didn't know about it. It was just one guy. No, he was in the FBI. He was a very high up person in the FBI. You don't automatically.
We don't really know.
No, Rick. You don't automatically go to, well, I'm sure no one in the Obama administration knew anything about that. You just assume that the FBI was dirty and that they were doing it on purpose. You don't say, well, it was probably just that one guy and he did it on his own. Why? Why would he be doing this on his own? Why would he be
cover his ass?
He wasn't covering his ass. He was trying to help get Trump
but
spied upon.
Well, this is, you can argue this point, but they were, I don't even want to make that point because you'll just get all crazy. But I don't know, and you don't know whether this one altered date in a document in a stack of hundreds of pages was something that would have or should have been caught by his coworkers.
Well,
you don't know. You're just guessing. So am I. So just fucking admit it.
No. Actually, I'm not. I'm assuming that when a high up person at the FBI does something that leads to the president being spied upon, that he was not acting on his own, that he was deliberately under pressure or orders to do something.
That's a huge assumption.
It's not that huge, Rick, because he was part of an organization that is being investigated for spying on the opposing candidate. Now we've got somebody red-handed, and you're assuming, he did that on his own. Why?
Yeah, you're assuming exactly the opposite. Neither of us fucking know. So why don't we wait a week to see if more
I do know.
You don't know. You just said you were assuming. You don't fucking know. You just said you're assuming. We're both assuming. So fucking just let's move on.
No, actually I can't. I want to know why you can't accept that the FBI was falsifying documents to spy on Trump. Now we have somebody caught red-handed, and you're making the pathetic excuse that you don't know whether he was doing it with his superior's knowledge. That doesn't make any sense, Rick.
Sure,
that's the worst excuse I've ever heard. It's like saying, again, if a mafioso shoots somebody, you don't blame that guy. You say, well, you assume that the Godfather knows.
It's a cop. The FBI is glorified cops, and don't tell me that there haven't been tens of thousands of instances where individual cops do something wrong procedurally and cover their asses by either misstating
He
what
didn't
happened.
do anything wrong procedurally. He was trying to get Trump surveilled on.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know what to.
You're just special pleading. You're
not.
grabbing at a
You
straw.
don't fucking know.
You're saying you don't
You
know.
think this is
so
all
you
right?
won't
Here's what
do it.
you're saying. This is a fucking conspiracy. I'm saying you don't fucking know. I'm saying it's there's a huge possibility that the guy was just following his own instincts.
Oh, what? Wait a minute. What guy in the FBI would break the law following his own instincts? So you're not going to believe this unless you have a videotape of Comey telling him to do this, and Obama telling Comey to tell the guy to do that.
I don't know.
Unless you get an actual recording where Comey says, "Now you falsified documents," you'll just think it was him. He was acting on his own alone. His superiors, Obama, Comey, they're all nice people. They didn't do anything. Yeah, but we do. You blame an organization you blame the whole organization when top people.
You blame the whole organization when the IG reports is going to say that there were some scattered procedural errors, but there was no overall bias in the fucking report. So you're going to latch onto the one fucking thing, the way a fucking antibody latches onto a fucking handle on a bacterium. You're going to just hold on to that for dear life. I've forged documents myself. I'm a good forger. I've forged many documents.
Well, why do you suppose a guy is forging a document to get the opposing candidate investigated and spied upon by the FBI? Why would he do that?
Maybe he fucked up. Maybe he thinks it would be a stronger document if the date was. I mean, I know why I forged documents and changed dates. I changed dates to make fake IDs. One time I got pulled over by the cops and was ticketed for not having insurance, and I went and I got insurance, and I backdated. I did some stuff with a special forgery pencil because as an artist, that you don't want to forge shit with a graphite pencil because graphite is shiny, right? Mm. And if somebody knows to hold it up to the light, the forgery will show up. So I got a special black crayon type pencil, and I very carefully changed the date to make it look as if I had insurance when I got pulled over by the cops. And I took it down. I said, "Here's my insurance," and the forgery worked, and they got rid of the ticket. Now, did my superiors tell me to do that? No, I was covering my ass.
Yeah, but Rick, if you were working for
you don't fucking know what was up with this guy.
If you were working for the most important law enforcement organization in the world, and you are forging documents and changing documents in order to spy on the opposing candidate, and your direct superior right above you is Strzok and Page. We don't know if he worked precisely for Strzok and Page. We know that he worked in the same office doing the same investigations. Now, you're saying that the Obama FBI is blameless. It's just this one guy, and he was acting on his own.
The IG report says that there was no overall bias.
We haven't received it yet, Rick.
But I mean, so in a week we'll know more. So let's hold off on.
I'm just saying. So if you think your argument is yes, the FBI forged documents to surveil the opposing candidate, but it wasn't the whole FBI. It was just this one guy.
We know of one forged document at this case, one altered document at this point.
Okay, so one altered document is fine by you.
That's okay. Fine, but
that's all right. You would expect the FBI to alter documents to investigate American citizens that happen to be running against the Democrats. You would expect that. That seems reasonable to you.
I expect.
Happens all the time.
Well, I mean, it's not good, but I wouldn't expect a stack of 400 documents, 400 pages of documents, to be entirely free of error. Now, this isn't an error, it's a forgery or an alteration. So is it, you guys on the conservative side are going to argue that this one forged date, we don't even know what the date pertained to. We don't know anything yet because the IG report doesn't come out for another week. You're going to say it invalidates the whole fucking thing, the whole set of 4 applications for FISA warrants, the first one and then the 3 renewals.
Well, that's I'm not going to say it invalidates the whole thing. Those FISA applications have already been invalidated because they were based on a dossier.
No, the IG report, no, that is specifically not true unless, and you can make the case when everything comes out that the LA Times lied to me again.
They did.
But according to the IG reports, the FISA warrants were not based on the dossier.
You haven't read the IG report, and Andrew McKay was the one in charge of it, and he said in congressional hearings that it was.
Don't you want to wait for the IG report?
No, we're arguing about things that have already been asked and answered. We know that the dossier is invalidated, and that the warrants
here I
that
think
the
you're
FISA
full of
warrants.
shit, and I
So
think
you're the last person in America that believes in the dossier.
me and the LA Times, and anybody who reads the LA
I
Times.
can find you Andrew
Let's-
McKay saying
I will-
that he used the dossier.
Fine, but I
as
will bet
justification.
you $500 that when the IG report comes out,
I don't care what the IG report says.
but you were waiting for the IG report to show that the whole. You don't care. The IG
I know
report is
about
by.
that fact. I already know that the dossier was justified, was the thing that was used, and because Andy McKay, who was the head of the FBI, said so. I don't need the
You're not going to wait
anybody-
for independent investigators, and if they come back and they say it's not so,
I'm going with what the man that actually asked for the warrants said. I'm going with what he said. I don't need anybody else to interpret it for me. I'm not a brainwashed zombie. I read his words. He said the dossier, without the dossier, there were no FISA warrants.
All right, so let's move on from this because.
But wait, that's not what I'm concerned about. What I'm concerned about is that now, even if we find 50 guys altering documents, you're going to say, well, it was just those 50 guys. It wasn't policy of the FBI. It had nothing to do with Obama or
We're not
Comey.
going to find 50 guys because that's not.
Well, we found one.
Yeah, but
And
that's
you're
the
saying,
one
well,
that's being discussed.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that now you can't blame the organization. Now you're just going to say it was that one guy. So it was one guy. So if I find 5 more, it's those 5 guys. You'll never blame the Obama FBI. There's no way to win this. Because no matter what we find out, you'll say, oh, well, it was that one guy.
If you found 5 altered documents,
By 5 different guys, or 5. If the FBI is throwing documents in against Trump to get Trump spied on, when are you going to say, well, that was the FBI? When are you going to go from saying it was that one guy?
5 fucked with documents from 5 different people in the FBI would make me maybe say it's the FBI.
Okay, all right. Well, then let's just see what happens.
Okay, what's our next topic? Do we want to talk about?
We could start all in or something.
Yeah, I want to take a break because that'll lead to more yelling. And I just noticed I was adding some shit to my coffee, and nobody thinks, this doesn't make anybody pause and think. Taster's Choice. This brand has been around since the 70s, maybe even earlier. And I just realized the 70s and before were really lazy in terms of people would just slap any fucking words down. The cartoons were really crappy. TV was really crappy for the most part. And Taster's Choice, what does it mean? Somebody's really good at tasting, and they choose this shit to put in their coffee. It's just like, what the fuck? So, there. Now we can move on to...
Republicans are all.
There's a thing in economics called sunk costs. And it's a fallacy where you don't pull out of something that's sucking for you because of your original investment. It's like I spent $1,000 on this stock or on this, I don't know, boat motor, and it's a piece of shit. And instead of like throwing away the motor and saying, that was a wrong choice, you keep like putting hundreds and then thousands of dollars into the boat motor, trying to keep it going, trying to maintain your original investment, even though you should just cut your losses and say, fuck it, those are sunk costs, they're gone. I'm not going to get them, I'm not going to recover them. And it seems like the Republicans are going all in a sunk costs kind of way on Trump, where he's a bad investment. He's done a lot of shit that, I don't think the Republicans, I don't think voters. Now you can say it's not Republicans who are impeaching him, and so it's not Trump's fault. But I would say, yeah, it's fucking Trump's fault. But I don't think the voters who voted for Trump wanted 3 years later to have an impeachment investigation going on, and all this other, and evidence of developed by our intelligence agencies, not just the FBI, which you distrust, but more than a dozen other agencies who have been saying for 3 years that Russia fucked with our elections. And I don't think to Trump's benefit, and I don't think that most Republican voters voted for that to be the case. But now that it is the case, a lot of Republican leaders, senators, and congresspeople are going all in and just riding the bullshit train. One guy in particular, more than one guy, but one guy most notoriously over the past couple days, Senator John Kennedy of Kentucky, said, we don't know it's the Russians. I think it's the Ukrainians who interfered in the election. And then everybody said, a bunch of people told him, a gazillion intelligence agencies have reliably said it was the Russians, not the Ukrainians. And he retracted it. And then one day later, he unretracted it and said, no, it's the Ukrainians. And it just seems as if the Republican leadership is sinking everything, is saying, well, we've got this guy in office, we've got this president, and we're just going to go all in no matter how bullshitty everything turns out to be.
And you're saying that Trump colluded with Russia, and you can prove that?
No, I'm saying, I don't want to get in that argument again. We've had that argument.
Well, you just started that argument.
But I'm saying that more than a dozen U.S. intelligence agencies, and probably some intelligence agencies from other countries, have said, with all the authority they can muster, that the Russians fucked with the 2016 election. They are the ones who fucked with it.
So you want to recount and make Hillary president? What would satisfy you, given these facts?
That you guys, that your leadership doesn't go around and saying that that's not true.
Okay, Rick, let me explain to you what's going on. I'm going to have to answer this.
Yeah.
So, every election since the communists took over Russia has been fucked with, as you put it, by the Russians. And first it was the Soviets, then it was the Russians. Okay? We know this from defectors. Okay?
Okay.
And what happens is the Russians' main goal is to cause dissension. Like, for example, in 2016, they put a lot of money into ads that would turn black people against white people. And
All right,
vice
what you're
versa.
saying in a nutshell.
No, don't tell me what I'm saying. I'm not done. What I'm saying is...
They want to make people distrust democracy.
Okay, what I am saying is they didn't interfere to get Trump elected. So you can't, this doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, but
But I'm not done. I'm not done.
But what you're saying is contradicted by all the fucking intelligence agencies.
Rick, I'm not done. Now, when Senator Kennedy says that the Ukraine also interfered in our election, the reason he's saying that is because a court in Ukraine found Ukrainian officials guilty of trying to influence a U.S. election, which is weirdly against their laws. And that's what he's referring to.
How did Ukraine supposedly interfere?
Well, we know for a fact that Ukrainian officials wrote essays that were published in magazines in the U.S. saying that we are against Trump, we are for Hillary, and here's why.
Okay, but that's having an opinion and stating your opinion.
Well, it's the same thing.
No, it's not. It's not. It's
And we also know that one of the things that...
writing an op-ed is not fucking with the election.
Well, yes, it is.
Having an opinion is not what we're talking about.
Well, that's not all they did. But beyond that, there is developing a connection between the Democrat Party and the Ukraine at that time.
No, see, this is bullshit, and you guys are going all in on bullshit.
In Ukraine. Well, why is that bullshit? Let me ask you a question, Rick.
Because it's not true.
Rick,
it's just
Rick,
it's
Rick,
bullshit. I
Rick,
say it's bullshit when I
you're a
really
zombie.
should say
You're
it's
a
a fucking lie.
You're okay.
No, you guys are. The more
Rick,
trouble you get in, the more you guys lie. Just flat out lie.
Okay,
just
Rick.
flat out deny.
Rick, think logically for a minute. I know you're a zombie, but if you are so excited to believe that the Soviets or the Russians interfered in our election, why is it a lie? A lie that the Ukraine might have as well.
Because they didn't.
How do you know that?
Find me, and when we break, how soon till we break?
No, I already mentioned one. I'm not the House Intelligence
You can break as
Committee.
much as you want.
I actually came up with something sitting here right now, and I didn't even know I was going to be asked this. Yes, Rick, a court in the Ukraine found that Ukrainians interfered in our election. This was found recently in the past 2 years.
Okay, then show me. Show it to me.
Okay.
Fucking show it to me.
All right, I fucking will.
Break?
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay,
break.
I'm rolling.
Okay, you're rolling. This is Ukrainian officials meddled in 2016 election by leaking secret Manafort ledger, court says. A court ruled that the officials broke the law by leaking the ledger, which revealed $12.7 million in payments between Ukraine's ousted president and the ex-Trump campaign chairman. 2 Ukrainian officials meddled, okay, according to a Ukrainian court. There.
Okay.
And this is Bloomberg, by the way.
No, it's the Daily Beast.
But it's Bloomberg. It's Bloomberg. Or is that Bloomberg just for the photo reference?
It's the Daily Beast.
No,
I'm
but
fine
I
with it.
see the word Bloomberg. Is that because they provided the photograph or the article?
It's
No, that's
just the
the photo.
photograph.
Okay, fine.
It's the Daily Beast. I'm
All right.
okay with the Daily Beast.
All
I
right.
like it.
Well, there you go.
But let's see how this fucking...
Are we cutting here?
Okay.
Should we cut? I'm cutting.
All right. This from CNN says, we're comparing apples and oranges. On the one side, we have Russia engaging in a multi-pronged, coordinated disinformation effort to influence the American election. An effort that led to the indictments of 12 Russian military officers. Sorry, an ad popped up. Fuck you, ad. Come on. Military intelligence agency members by Mueller. On the other side, we have a handful of Ukrainian officials offering somewhat negative comments about Trump in op-eds and personal Facebook posts.
What about the court?
No, I'm going to
ruling?
go to that. I'm going to go to that. So, in addition, a court ruled in two Ukrainian officials meddled in the 2016 U.S. presidential election by leaking a secret ledger showing $12 million, almost $13 million in payments from Ukraine's ousted pro-Russian president Viktor Yanukovych and Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort. And this ruling was made in December of last year, a year ago.
Well, when was the leaking done? During the election, right, Rick?
Yeah.
So that's interfering in our election. You
Yeah,
proved
but
my
they
point.
leaked a thing that showed
Thank you.
that
Thank you for proving my
Manafort,
point.
that Manafort, Trump's campaign chairman, was
Uh-huh.
dirty.
So, doesn't
So-
that make Trump look bad?
Yeah.
Okay, so you proved my point. Thank you, Rick.
Well, but
You're
I
allowed
also-
to apologize for being wrong, and
But I'm not wrong, because on the one hand, you got two guys leaking some shit about Trump's campaign chairman.
but
On
that
the other
isn't-
hand, you've got what is a multi-pronged, coordinated disinformation effort to influence the American election by Russia.
Huh? Well, we're very impressed by that, Rick. It sure changed my vote.
The intelligence community concluded in early 2017 that Russia interfered in the election to help Trump and hurt Clinton, including hacking the DNC and leaking damaging emails.
Which intelligence organization? The one that was spying on him?
More than a dozen.
And you're repeating something read by CNN, who you agreed was biased 3 weeks ago.
Where did I say? What did I say? Tell me.
Yeah, we found evidence because Project Veritas has that guy on tape saying that has Zucker, the head of CNN, on tape saying he was gonna do everything he could to get Trump impeached.
No, that's not what I said that it was.
You
biased.
said CNN was biased against Trump.
No, I didn't.
Yes,
I
you did.
said-
We can check the tapes, or one of our fanatical listeners will.
What CNN is biased in favor of is doing the stories that they think will get them the most viewers.
That's not what you said.
I
You
said-
said they were biased against Trump.
No, they were biased to cover Trump at the expense of other shit. I didn't say they were biased. Zucker's the one who put Trump on TV in the first place.
Yeah,
with
that
the-
doesn't seem to matter much anymore, does it?
You know, if I said that they're just biased in favor of Trump news.
Okay, well, you began
And yeah,
this.
they probably don't like Trump,
Well, there you go. Thank you, Rick.
but there's so much not to like.
Okay, well, I'm sorry you don't like him, but you're still wrong.
Not exactly, no. It comes from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence and the National Intelligence Council.
Mm-hmm.
So,
The same guys that were surveilling Trump's campaign,
no, it's a bunch of agencies.
a bunch of agencies that were surveilling Trump's campaign and putting spies in his campaign.
The FBI is the one who did the FISA, but there are more than a dozen other fucking agencies.
And they were trying to get Trump elected.
What?
You're saying that the Russians wanted Trump to
Yes,
be elected?
yes.
Okay.
It's all the intelligence agencies agree on that.
Uh-huh. I don't agree with them.
Then you're dumb and full of you're the one who's buying into dumb media. There's a dumbness industry in this country. The average Fox viewer, I forget, I looked it up last week, and is over 60, or might be exactly 60, which means that like a quarter of Fox News viewers are well over 70 years old and need simple presentations of well, not information, but presentations of content to make the world understandable. And anyway.
So you started by saying that the Ukraine did not interfere in our election. You were certain of that. Now I've proven that they did in several different ways, it turns out.
Op-eds are not interference. Saying you don't like a candidate
and releasing damaging information about his campaign manager is also interference, Rick. So that's two different ways. So you're going to say that that's my imagination? You just read it.
I'm saying it's pretty horseshit because what Russia did was huge and what Ukraine did was...
Well, what exactly did Russia do, Rick?
I just read what they did.
No, you didn't. You didn't read that. You read that someone told you they did something. You don't know what they did. You're just going by this CNN report.
No, I'm going from a report by the Office of...
And what did they say they did? That they said, now here's the report says that. Now look, I'm trying to avoid an ad hominem attack. I'm going to say in advance, I don't believe our intelligence community, because we just got through talking about how our intelligence community tried to frame Trump.
No, we didn't talk. You talked about how one guy fucking with one document out of hundreds, maybe thousands, means that there was a concerted, coordinated conspiracy to...
Yes.
And I think that that's stupid and bullshit. I just think it's dumb bullshit, dumb, desperate bullshit from a fucking corrupt Republican leadership.
Can you prove to me that the FISA warrants were warranted? Can you
I
prove
can
that?
in next week, I assume.
You've never been able to.
But the IG reports, which is your guys' investigation into the investigation of people around Trump, the IG report comes out in a week, in less than 168 hours, it's out. But already Bill Barr is saying, Trump's hand-picked attorney general is saying he's not going to believe the report. That hit the news today.
Rick, I need to believe you. Now,
no, you don't. You're not going to believe me. I'm not going to change your mind.
My argument is that the Russians did their usual nastiness that they always do. But I don't think you can prove that they were trying to get Hillary defeated. I don't know how you can prove that. So just telling me that CNN told you is not adequate.
This is from the Director of National Intelligence.
Clapper?
The agency, not a single person. It's from the agency.
I understand, but Clapper, Comey, and Brennan have all said that they need to get Trump to be impeached. Clapper, he was director of the National Intelligence, I forget what it was. Brennan is the head of the CIA, Comey's the head of the FBI. I can't trust those people.
Yeah, but you don't trust...
Why? How can I trust them when they've gone on CNN every night saying Trump needs to be impeached? This is not a credible thing. I want to hear from your big fat lips exactly what the Russians did to get Trump elected.
Okay, so this is from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence.
What's his name?
It's the organization. It's
not just one guy.
It's not just one guy.
I see.
All right,
So sometimes it's the organization, sometimes it's just one guy.
I'm working from the document. Key judgments. Russian efforts to influence the 2016 election represent the most recent expression of Moscow's long-standing, as you've said, desire to undermine U.S.-led liberal democratic order. But these activities demonstrated a significant escalation in directness, level of activity, and scope of effort compared to previous operations. We also assess Putin and the Russian government aspired to help President-elect Trump's election chances when possible by discrediting Secretary Clinton and publicly contrasting her unfavorably to him. All three agencies.
I want to see that.
Okay, so here are the agencies. All three agencies agree with this judgment. CIA and FBI have high confidence in this judgment. NSA has moderate confidence.
Rick, that's Clapper, Brennan, and Comey. Those people
No.
are probably going to be indicted in the next few months.
You know,
You're
do you want to
reading-
bet? So, do you
you're
want to
reading-
put money where your mouth is? I'll bet you $500 versus $500 worth of your art, work doing a piece of art for me, that they're not indicted.
Well, they may not be indicted, but they deserve to be.
Oh, okay, so all right.
So my point is I don't believe these are three credible people.
It's the NSA, the FBI, and the CIA.
I know, and all three of those people are CNN people.
What's
that
your
go
problem
on-
with the NSA? You ever seen somebody from the NSA go
Clapper
on?
is this big fat idiot that just gets up there and says, in my opinion, Trump has damaged the republic, and every
Yeah, did
effort must be
Clapper
made.
ever work for the National Security Agency?
He was the director of it.
No, I don't think so.
Well, look up Clapper. He's the director of one of the.
Not the
of
NSA.
Yeah, I believe so.
No, fuck that.
Well, find what Clapper did. This is a high level show, guys.
James Clapper, right?
Yeah, we verify everything. We verify more than the FBI does. Like the FBI didn't verify the dossier. They just thought that Trump was watching hookers
The dossier
pee in a
didn't-
hotel room,
was-
and they didn't need to verify that. They just believed it and got a warrant out for him. But we're going to do more than that. We're going to verify what James Clapper did.
Okay, so
What job did he have, Rick?
he was the director of the Defense Intelligence Agency from 91 to 95.
And what about the NSA, Rick?
He was director of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency from 2001 to 2006.
Okay, what about the NSA? Was he head of the NSA? No, I'm
No.
just curious.
No,
No.
he was
What did he do under Obama?
He was Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence under Bush and Obama, and then under Obama, he was the Director of National Intelligence. So that report did come out
Wait a
under
minute,
him.
wait a minute.
But he never worked for the NSA.
The Director of National Intelligence is not connected with the NSA?
Well, yeah, but he was never director of the NSA.
He was the Director of National Intelligence?
Yes.
Well, what's the difference?
Well, that's.
I know you've read two different words, but I think they may be connected.
Hold on. So, wait a second.
Oh, I know. I believe there was an honest guy in charge of the NSA,
So,
actually.
the U.S. Director of National Intelligence is a cabinet level official required by the Intelligence Reform and Terrorism Prevention Act of 2004 to serve as head of the 17-member United States intelligence community. That is 17 separate intelligence organizations. So he never directly he wasn't ever the director of the NSA, but he
Okay.
was the director of this agency that oversaw.
All right, you need to prove to me that they were trying to get Trump elected, and it's got to be from some kind of credible source. You got to show me.
So
something.
you're saying the
I don't-
CIA,
this-
the FBI,
yeah,
and
they
the
would
NSA,
not- yeah,
none of
they-
those,
they're-
and the other
they're not
14 U.S.
they're
intelligence
not
agencies.
credible.
No, then
We're
we have to
indicting- we're-
stop
we're-
with this. Then
we're
we have to.
indicting one of them this week.
Then we have to stop with this
We're
because I
indicting
can't.
an FBI lawyer this week who lied,
He's-
who altered documents.
Is he being indicted?
Yeah, he's being indicted. That's the
All right.
recommendation.
So one FBI guy. out
one
of
guy,
17.
one guy.
Yeah. Let's see if
It
we
was
get
just
any
one
more.
guy.
All right. So let's move on because we've spent an hour on this shit now. What's the next thing, Director?
Let's see. Got,
Oh, listen, while you're looking up, this is the time of year where I have to pay an installment of property taxes.
Okay.
And you're huge on saying that the state of California just sucks you dry, bleeds you dry
Okay.
in taxes. In property taxes, we do 2 payments a year. This payment that is for less than 1/4 of 1% of the value of our home.
And that's because of Proposition 13, which was passed by Republicans.
But you like to say that California is a taxation hellhole.
Because the Republicans managed to stop the Democrats on that one thing, you're benefiting.
I am.
And yet you bite the hand that feeds you.
How do I bite it?
Well, because you're not acknowledging that it's because of the Republicans, not the Democrats. The Democrats have tried to overturn that for decades.
No, because there's some shitty aspects of it. It was designed to help old people hold on to their homes so they're not taxed out of their homes
By Democrats.
by the normal nature of property tax. Because the way Prop 13 works, your property taxes aren't allowed, which are when you buy a property. Prop 13, I think, says 2 things, that except for special assessments, your property taxes can't be more than 1% of the value of your property. And they can't go up more than 1% a year, even if the value of your property is going up 10% a year. So we've owned our property for 21 years. And it's quadrupled in value. Our property taxes haven't quadrupled. And so now they're less than 1/2 of 1% of the value of our property.
So can you show some gratitude to the Republicans and contrition for voting Democrat all these years?
No, because the state suffers because Prop 13 has gone beyond its intended use.
It seems to be helping you pretty well.
Yeah, but do I need the help? Should I get the help? It was
Apparently.
designed to help senior citizens not be taxed out of their homes.
Well, Rick, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but let's face facts here, Rick. Father Time has not ignored you.
No, but I'm not a senior citizen, and I could afford to pay. But
That close, guys. That close.
so, the money that we've saved in property taxes over the past, while we've owned this house, and then the house before it, and then the condo before that, has probably more than made up for, taxes that you find outrageous, state income taxes. We've saved more in property taxes than we've had to shell out in what you would consider outrageous state income taxes.
And you do agree, you're not arguing with me, that Howard Jarvis was a Republican.
Yeah, and it came from
And
the
that,
Republicans.
and that this is a Republican bill. You agree with me?
Yes.
Is there anybody watching this that does not see the brainwashing at work, how it kicks in? Even when he knows that the Republicans are right and the Democrats are wrong, he still blames the Republicans. He can't make the logical connection. There's a little Democrat in his head that says, see, even though you're benefiting by the Republican policies, it's the Democrats that are good. Republicans bad. California is a paradise run by Democrats. Don't give any credit to those Republicans.
All right. I've had a good life in California.
Mm-hmm. Because
Because
of the Democrats?
Because I'm a good writer and I've had good jobs.
Okay.
And because the California economy, the entertainment industry is part of what is a generally healthy California economy.
The Democrats did more to destroy the entertainment industry in California than imaginable. They pushed the entertainment industry all over the world because the taxes were so high on industry here. And that can't possibly be disputed, Rick.
Or I'm not going to dispute it.
Well, it can't be, because the Democrats were soaking the corporations in this state, and now there are thriving industries in Canada,
No, I
in
can
Georgia,
dispute
in
it.
Arizona.
No, I can dispute it. So, because it's two things. It's one, it's the thing you're saying, but two, it's places with depressed economies saying, let's get some entertainment in here by undercutting California, where we go back to reason number one, which is sometimes it's expensive to produce stuff
Because
here.
the Democrats are taxing industry so high. And you can't make those words come out. Does it hurt? Does it hurt? Is it going to hurt if you admit it? Is there physical pain? Can you do it?
The Republicans, I mean, the state of California didn't offer the deep discounts that some others, like like Albuquerque, New Mexico. Shitty economy, a poor state, like 49th and a bunch of stuff. Decides to make it really cheap to produce stuff. And Breaking Bad shoots in Albuquerque, and now they've got a fairly, they've got a big new studio there. They've got a fairly small but
Yes, this is all very interesting. Did the Democrats drive industry from California by overtaxing it?
That's probably a factor,
Thank you.
but there are other factors.
Okay.
It's cheaper to shoot in Vancouver. Is it all because of taxes, or is it because of incentives? And it's several things all at once.
Let's move on, please.
All right, what's the next thing?
Let's see.
Prop 13 wasn't designed to apply to business properties, corporate stuff, yet it's been used to. Anyway, fine, go on.
Did you want to talk about God?
All right, somebody asked me to talk about God. And to get to God, first we have to talk about the nature of existence. By tautology, the only things that can exist are things that exist. There are rules for existence. Things have to exist over time. Something that exists for zero time doesn't exist. Things that exist have to exist somewhere, which implies a place for them to exist, which implies space. Things that exist can't be contradictory. Things can't both exist and not exist. They can't have. They can't incorporate impossibilities. And if you go from principles of existence and non-contradiction, you might end up with rules for existence. Well, that include things like quantum mechanics, which are basically the rules for the existence of everything, given that everything has to be finite and contain a finite amount of information. So, the rules of existence eventually, once we understand them sufficiently, will imply the shape and nature of space, the rules of physics, and the nature of time. And I believe that anything we might consider a god or gods is subject to the same rules of existence that we are. That there is no all-powerful creator who created existence from nothing. I think that there are we live in a universe that is apparently 14.8 or it's either 13 or 14.8 billion years old, and I believe is much, much older than that. And that the universe has 10 to the 22nd stars, roughly. which is 10,000 billion stars, most of which have planets. So even if a small fraction of those planets can support life, it's likely that there are many millions of planets where life has originated and evolved. And I believe that a non-zero fraction, a significant fraction, even if it's only one planet in a 1,000 or 10,000 where life has evolved, I believe intelligent life has evolved. If you just look at life on our planet, intelligence has evolved independently several times. The same way, having having powerful brains is an evolutionary niche that organisms naturally fall into, given favorable circumstances. The same way having spherical eyes with lenses is something that it's possible for animals to evolve, and which animals have evolved independently, maybe dozens of times. It's not like our eyeballs were evolved once, or eyeballs like ours were evolved once, and then every creature with eyeballs evolved from that one prototypical, that one creature 1 billion years ago who was the first to evolve eyes. No, it's that eyes popped up here, and then along a separate line of evolution popped up here. Eyes pop up all over the place. Similarly, intelligence pops up separately along various lines of evolution. So I believe that it's likely that intelligence has arisen thousands of times among the myriad inhabited planets in our universe. And I believe that once intelligent life exists, it's possible for that life to create civilizations that persist across many tens of thousands of years. We haven't encountered any credible evidence of extraterrestrial civilizations. Nobody's has sent out a credible signal that definitively says, we're intelligent, we're out here. And people have various theories as to why we haven't received one of those signals. If the universe is full of intelligent species and civilizations.